Welcome everyone. Today we're diving into the exciting world of event planning using Canva. Today we are doing our first class in this 4-part series on event planning. So we're going to set the foundation for what's to come, ensuring you're well prepared to utilize Canva to its fullest potential. So within this class, we're going to be looking at a variety of topics, from organizing your Canva workspace to developing your brand foundations. But today, first up, we'll talk about the Canva workspace structure, and then we'll be discussing about folder systems and how important this is in regards to organization, because any business owner knows how important organization is, and that's especially true as event planners. And Canva can help tremendously with that, right? And then we're going to look at the template philosophy, which I'll explain later in the class. And then we're going to look at brand foundations, just basically not too much in depth into what a brand kit is, but we'll kind of lay the foundations for what you should consider for branding purposes and creating a unified approach. And then lastly, we'll consider how event planners should think about Canva as an infrastructure, right? This is about integrating Canva into your workflow as an essential tool, not just an optional extra. And we'll also do like a little live build demo of the folder systems as well today. So let's talk about the real challenges that event planners encounter. First is the issue of disorganized files. It's a common problem, and ultimately this can lead to unnecessary stress and time waste. Another problem is the time spent rebuilding assets for each event. This repetitive task will ultimately drain your resources and creativity. And the next problem is the struggle with inconsistent branding. And every business struggles with this, but I think even event planners struggle with this the most too. And having an inconsistent branding can really confuse both the team that you have as well as the audience you're serving, which will ultimately affect the overall event perception, right? And then finally, the absence of repeatable processes. And I believe without it, planning becomes unpredictable and inefficient. So understanding these key issues, we're ultimately going to be able to start exploring solutions that streamline workflows and enhance efficiency in Canva. So we're going to first backtrack, though, into Canva. What is Canva, right? Canva offers thousands of templates to choose from, which means there's a design for every occasion. More importantly, it's user-friendly. So you don't need to be a design expert to create beautiful visuals quickly. This ease of use will ultimately help you save time and reduce stress. Plus, Canva is a collaboration-friendly platform, and this is going to ultimately allow you, your teams, as well as clients to work together seamlessly, ensuring everyone is on the same page. It ultimately is going to simplify communication and enhance productivity, right? But let's take it a step further, right? Let's reframe Canva's role and specifically make it not just a tool for designing beautiful graphics, but a comprehensive workspace for all your event planning needs. By using Canva as your central hub, you're going to bring all your event planning assets together in one place. This means everything from initial concept to final promotion can be seamlessly integrated. So I just want you to imagine this, having a platform that supports every phase of your planning process, right? Just imagine that. Not just when it's time to promote, really planning to promotion, right? So this shift in thinking is going to allow us more organized, efficient, and collaborative event planning. So as a reminder, going further into this class as well as the whole series, Canva is more than just a design tool. It's the foundation for planning successful, well-coordinated events, all right? So I keep talking about event planning HQ. What does this mean? I want to give an actual more in-depth definition or outlook of what this means, right? So kind of already alluded to this, but essentially, picture this, a single centralized Canva environment where everything you need for an event is neatly organized and easily accessible. And the really key goal is about clear organization. More importantly, Instead of creating one-off designs each time, we're going to leverage the use of templates. And templates are so powerful. They save time and ensure consistency across all your projects. And again, this comes back to the point I'm going to make clear throughout this class, and that's the phrase and the mantra, reuse, reuse, reuse. We're going to maximize efficiency by reusing those templates, which means for you, less work and more cohesive event preparation and presentation, right? So this is really the key behind creating this event planning HU, and it's really going to be the framework for everything we're going to be talking about in this series, all right? So let's move into today's build, which is focusing on these four key areas, right? So the folder structure, the brand foundations, the template framework, and event duplication logic. So first, the folder structure. This is going to be a well-organized folder structure, and this is really, and I'm going to introduce this here in a sec, but it's really crucial for seamless event planning and ultimately organization, right? So this is going to be super easy access, so especially if you are trying to share that process to new teammates or current teammates, or even to outside vendors helping with creating an event. This is really going to be key for that, right? So next is brand foundations. Establishing these foundations will help maintain consistency and strengthen our brand identity across all events. And keep in mind too, with this being at the forefront of your sort of system or processy here on Canva, you're going to have less questions being asked about what colors you're supposed to use, right? Or font, or what type of brand voice we're trying to aim for, right? This is all going to be in that brand foundation section, all right? And the third thing going forward is the template framework. So this is really going to be providing a standardized starting point, saving time and minimizing errors. And finally, event duplication logic. This, like I said before, right? Reuse, 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 right? This is key to this event duplication logic. So this ultimately is about efficiency, enabling us to replicate successful events with minimal effort, right? And this is going to be able to help track those successful events and know what you did really well to then bring into newer events, or even compare what you did right on a good event and what you did wrong on a bad event, right? So going to the folder structure, and this is a non-negotiable, right? It's going to save you time. It's going to prevent errors, right, by having clear and logical folder structures, right? We talked about saving time because of the organization, not having to sift through files, right? It's going to enable delegation, right? You're as an event planner, you might be a one-man team, but you're going to be probably bringing in more people in the future the more successful you get, right? And you're also going to be bringing in other third-party vendors, right? So this folder structure is really going to help with delegating specific tasks, or even just being a lot, from the high-end side, or high-end on the pyramid. This is really great for a hands-off approach most of the time if you can get really working and really well, right? And finally, at the end of the day too, going to that point, it's going to help support growth as well. Because having this organized approach is really going to give a good impression for people coming onto your team as well as vendors you work with, right? So let's look at the actual framework that I put together, right? So first, we have the active events folder. As the name suggests, this is where all the current actions take place. And think of it as your digital workspace for ongoing projects, right? So next is the event templates folder. These are the foundational templates that will save you time and ultimately ensure consistency across all events. Remember, these are locked designs, so they remain unchanged, and ultimately they're going to be ready for duplication, and those duplicate files will then go moved into the active events folder, right? Then we have the brand foundations folder. And this is crucial for maintaining your brand's identity, housing all essential brand guidelines and assets. And one note too, I structured these classes to really utilize as much of the free version of Canva as possible, right? So I understand there is a brand kit feature in Canva, and that's for paid pro, if you will, users. But this is a workaround because brand foundations, if you create this folder, you can basically upload your logo into here in a doc, right? And we'll show that in just a sec, as well as your brand identity, your photos you might use that you've used regularly, right? These can all go into this brand foundations folder, right? So this is a workaround if you don't have the paid version to store all those brand kits based things, right? And then we got internal planning assets where you'll find resources streamline or how you streamline your internal processes, right? And finally, the archive folder. This is where completed projects live, serving as a valuable reference for future planning, right? So again, organizing in this way, you're going to ensure efficiency and clarity, ultimately making your collaboration between your internal team as well as clients or even vendors that you work with seamless. So let's continue to the specific templates, right? So I want to go deep dive into templates versus active events, right? So templates are your locked masters, all right? These should not be changed. And these should be locked so that other teammates can't get it. The next thing is active events. These are the editable copies. These should be based, and there should be subfolders in the active events folder that are specific to that client project or projects that you're working on. Once you're done with a client's project, that should automatically go to the archived folder, right? And this is really going to make it so that you never have to design from scratch on designs, right? So these templates can be, I'm going to give you a list of things to look at here in a sec, but you can add more templates to this, right? So some templates you should look at are going to be a blank event timeline shell, and this is going to be your foundation timeline ready to be tailored to any event specific needs. And this is going to be crucial to have this to ensure nothing slips behind the cracks and you're keeping track of project deadlines, right? We're going to look at also a generic checklist, and if you know project management, you know how powerful the checklist is. And so this is really going to help those more specific tasks be organized and ultimately ensure accountability for each step in the process, right? Then we're going to have a placeholder budget layout, and this is going to allow you to plan and allocate resources efficiently. Essential step, in my opinion, is stay within budget and meet financial goals. And this is really going to make it so that you can even, this is, I think, going to be the most important thing to comparing good events versus bad events, right? See what you did for the budget, especially if you hit the sweet spot where you didn't spend a lot on the budget, but you 10x or 5x your expenses, right, with revenue, or profit. That's great, right? And then you should look at an event cover and internal header to really create a cohesive professional look for all documentation, ultimately enhancing your brand's presentation. All right. So going further into these specific things, I want to take a look at these two for now, because these other two are going to be in later classes. So looking into the event timeline section, really, it's going to be simple. You're going to be looking at pre-event specific timeline groundwork, as well as event day, which is going to be the day of, right? And this is where the plans that we made in the pre-event phase are going to be set into motion. And this is why having these timelines in place is going to be great, because you want to be adaptable and ensure everything runs smoothly, right? And then post-event, which involves reflection and follow-ups. And this is where you're going to be gathering feedback, assess the outcomes, and identifying areas for improvement. Everyone knows what a checklist is, as I mentioned before, but these are 4 main checklists I would recommend taking a look at. So the planning checklist, this is going to include tasks like setting objectives, securing a venue, and booking vendors, right? The logistics checklist is going to be more the nitty-gritty details like transportation, equipment, and communication with team members. The day of checklist is going to ensure everything runs smoothly from setup to execution, right? And then the wrap-up checklist. So after the event, this checklist is going to help us cover final tasks like thanking participants, evaluating outcomes, and gathering feedback. One thing I do want to say is between these 2 lists, it's really important that you're putting these out because you might be thinking of all these things in your head internally, right, in your mind. But especially when you have a team or if you're trying to track metrics or you're trying to see what you're doing good or wrong and be able to audit your processes, this is where these physical things come into play. So it's a really good idea to have these things in place, right? So moving on. Next is the brand foundations folder, right? Put simply, why do we need a brand kit, right? Ultimately, it's these 3 points. So having faster creation, right? Having all these things in place, not having to go on your computer and finding any of those files or even having to download them from some Google folder or whatever online. It's really going to make the creation process a lot faster, right? And the next point is inconsistent assets. I tell people, especially with branding, consistency is key, right? And it's going to be key in maintaining that strong brand image. And ultimately, this brand kit is going to ensure that every asset aligns perfectly with your brand's identity. And this is really important, especially if you have vendors that you're working with. And then lastly, this is going to help support delegation, as I mentioned before, right? And this is going to empower your team to take on tasks without constant oversight and giving them the right tools ultimately to make those automated decisions. All right. We're going to look at now a live build session on the folder systems. All right. So I'm going to pause and go directly into my Canva. So when you do enter into Canva, now this is the live build session now, you will be greeted into the home page. And keep in mind too, if you haven't used Canva before, there's all these features. And this is really what makes the magic of really creating your event planning HQ. You know, you can do presentation slides, you can make social media content like flyers or graphics or whatnot. You can do video editing. You could do print, like if you need business cards or whatnot. Doc, right? Similar to Google Doc or Microsoft Word. Whiteboarding, so you can, whiteboard stuff out digitally. Canva sheets, which we'll be using in the next class or part 2 of this Canva series. And this is basically like Excel. You can create websites or emails, right? And so there's some really cool features. I highly recommend taking a look at some of these features on your own. But you're going to come over here to kind of get the process going. We're going to go into projects, right? And you're going to go up here, add new, and we're going to hit new folder, right? And you're going to type in event, right? Event planning HQ, right? As that was what we titled the folder, right? So event planning HQ. I'm going to hit continue, right? I already have it. I already have a folder set up. And you're going to make sure you hit star. So this the star button that's over here in projects, right? Come up over here. It's the star button. You're going to hit a star. So it's starred, right? And your starred will actually show up here once you go into the folder, right? So let's say you're in a different folder. You go into that folder and go in specifically, right? So we're going to create 5 folders, all right? So you got your active events, right? Active events. You got your event templates, right? You got your brand foundations. You got your internal planning assets, and then your archive, right? And so I'm going to go in to event templates first, because this is where I would start if I were you, right? It's either event templates or your brand foundations side, right? So you're going to go to event templates, right? And in this event template, what you can actually do is hit add new. You can hit create new. And you can search for anything right here. But what I would recommend you do is, frankly, I would come here to templates and I would just search up event, or I would search up specifically one of the templates that I recommended. So we're going to look up blank event timeline, right? And boom, here's a beautiful one, right? It's actually made by Canva. So we're going to hit customize this template, right? I'm going to resize this as event planning timeline sheet. And it's already made with all the stuff. And you can go in and actually customize these options and the specific, things in these cells. But this is basically a Canva sheet. And the cool thing is, if you come up here to File and you hit Move, you can actually go to all your projects, right? Go to Event Planning HQ, and then hit Event Templates, and hit Move, right? And now when I come over here, right, go to Event Planning, have it start already, go in here, and boom, it is right here, ready to go. So it's that easy to get started, right? And on top of that, let's do brand foundations as another example. And like I mentioned before, I do understand that Canva does have a brand kit feature, but for those of you that maybe are just getting started with Canva, I highly recommend using the free version. And this is a way to have a brand kit for the free users, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to hit add new. You're going to hit design, create new, right? You're going to go here to doc. You're going to hit doc and create a new doc. I'm just going to title this logo for my business, right? And I'm going to come over here. Don't even worry about typing anything for this because we're doing specifically a logo, right? I'm going to go to uploads and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put my logo. Boom. What? Sweet. Okay, and you can keep it like that. You can resize it if you'd like, right? Whatever you need. But I'd have that here so it's organized. And what you could do is, since you're designing in Canva most likely for all of your designs, you can just copy and paste this into a design, right? So I can just do that. I did Command C, right? And then I can paste that in here. As you can see, it's pasted into the cell. And I hit delete. But this is a great workaround if you don't have the Canva Pro version and you want to stay organized and have all your brand kit specific items in here, right? So this is a little demo on creating the folders. And one little tidbit for you guys, which was actually asked when we did our live class, is actually how to put QR codes, right? And this is a feature we're going to extend more on in the last class, which is how to do marketing and social media content in Canva as an event planner, right? And how to go through that workflow. You're going to go here to apps, and Canva has great apps available, right? And so you're going to go here. If you want to do a QR code, right, you're going to type in QR code. And Canva actually makes QR codes. So I'm going to actually hit app details because I already have this installed. But basically, it would have an install button. You hit that. Once it installs it, it doesn't install it on device. It installs it to your account. And you can come here and put in a URL. So I'm just going to put www.apple.com, right? Generate code. Boom. And I can actually go in and edit the color, right? So maybe I want this, maybe I want that. Boom. So super cool, right? Super cool customization. And this is free. There's no charge, right? So I know that was one thing that was asked for on how to do. So that's just a little feature since we're here right now. But that is it with the live demo of or live build session of these folder systems, right? So now we're going to go back to the slides. So I'll see you over there. All right, so now that we have done the live build session, I wanted to express some of the common early stage mistakes, right? So first is the issue of over customizing, right? And it's tempting to jump into this detailed design, but this can lead to a lot of inconsistency and confusion later on, right? So stick with a solid foundation, basically what I gave you, right, before diving into specifics. Next, having too many folders, right? So we did create some good folders, but be very keen with how many folders you're using. Cool tidbit, in one project in Canva, you can actually have multiple different designs in one Canva project, right? So definitely don't create too many folders, and this will really take out the point of organization, right? So this is going to create a disorganized digital workspace, which will make finding and managing assets difficult, right? And then finally, the absence of master templates and mixing personal client files can disrupt your branding consistency. So master templates will help maintain uniformity across projects, while keeping personal and client files separate will ensure professionalism and clarity, as that is what any business owner can ask for, right? So what is this going to enable, right? This ultimately is going to help you have a clean structure, which will ultimately make you have a better time with tracking specific metrics and tracking the progress of your business and each client workflow, right? The templates are going to be really crucial for scalable operations, right? You should be always looking at how you can scale the business throughout time, right? And you're going to need to. So having those well-designed templates can and will help save time and maintain consistency across all our work. And finally, the concept of an HQ isn't just a physical space, right? It's truly about creating a logical flow between clients and vendors, and this streamlines our processes and enhances communication. And ultimately, we're going to see this in the next 3 classes. What you can do right now is finalize your folder structures, right? So I went over 2, but start building those other folders, right? And create 2 to 3 template shells, right? And add those brand kit basics. And so that will really make it so that you're setting yourself up for success, so that in the next 3 classes, you're going to be good to go. And some final takeaways for today's class. Remember, Canva becomes exceptionally powerful when you structure projects well. So think of it as building that strong foundation for your creativity to flourish. Second, systems are your best friends. They reduce stress by creating consistent workflow. So having a clear process, you're freeing up mental energy to focus on creativity and innovation. And finally, these foundations we've discussed today is going to help enable you to grow, right? So as you become more efficient, you're going to find more opportunities to expand your creative reach and impact. So thank you for your attention today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next 3 classes. So see you soon. Bye-bye.